Hello guys, I am LeLu, and for this video I have decided to do something quite different. Today we will take a look into one of the most underrated yet absolutely essential parts of VFX, textures. Every game has its own style and identity. Think of titles like Hades, League of Legends, or Final Fantasy. Their effects are instantly recognizable, and textures play a huge role into that. Textures are like the secret sauce behind great effects. It's amazing how a single change in a texture can completely transform the look and feel of the effect. In this video, I am going to share with you some of my favorite texture creation techniques that I have learned over the years, and I will also show you where to find some nice textures as well to boost your own VFX work. Okay, let's do this. When it comes to textures for video games, there are multiple types of textures. We have simple shape textures, noise textures, decals, animated textures, flipbooks, and other kind of crazy, weird textures. We have multiple ways to do this. You can paint them directly, you can use nodes, or even program them using just raw shaders. There are some programs that I personally prefer, depending on the type of texture I need. And of course, you don't have to learn how to use all these programs. I just use all these because I am a VFX artist and I need to create all kind of different textures very often. But if you could pick only one program of this list, I think Krita is the most useful one. It is completely free and I use it all the time. So in this video, I have decided to focus mainly on how I create textures using Krita. And then I will also give you a quick look at some of the more advanced tools I use to push things further. But before we dive in, first I want to show you where you can find tons of free textures and resources online. That way you don't have to create everything from scratch. Okay, first I want to recommend you this website. And this is a Textures for VFX Database. And this was created by Simon Trumpler, who did a very good research on where to find different textures for free or paid, and texture packs, brushes. And this guy, Simon, he did a talk at a game developers conferences. And this is a really good video. I definitely recommend you to watch this. And this video is about how to not create textures for VFX. And one thing that he mentions a lot in the video is that you don't really need to make all your textures for all your VFX, especially if you are making very common effects like explosions, lightning effect, or fire. It's relatively easy to find all these textures online, even for free. I think by the end of the day, it's totally worth it. By the time you can save making your own effects without needing to make all these textures. So you can focus only on making the textures that you really need for very specific effects in your game. So anyways, let's go back to this website. And here we have texture packs, brushes packs, texture generators. Let's see, for example, texture packs. So here there are a lot of texture packs. Most of them are free. So for example, this one is free and is very good. And this one as well, this is from Unreal, but you can use it for free. We have flipbooks, and also these noise textures from LeLu are very good. I have tested them in some effects and they look amazing. And you also have magic circles, fire, smokes textures, and I think most of these are free. So yeah, so just download this and make sure to give some credit to the artists, and you can save a lot of time by just using these kind of resources. But there is also some other options here. For example, brush packs. If you want to paint your own fire effect, you can use some of these special brushes and get an effect texture very fast with just a few brush strokes. Also, we have texture generators as well, and most of them are free and online. I personally love this texture effect maker. I think this is one of the best generators I have ever seen. So let me show you. For example, this is online and it's free. And here you can like modify all the parameters, like the polar conversion, if you want something more toonish, if you want it to be repetitive, or a normal map. You can modify all these parameters. And cool thing is that here you have a lot of options. So for example, let's see the flower. So we get this, and you can also animate this. Um, let's see, for example, this spark, or oh, let me disable the tiling. Um, or for example, this sun effect. It's amazing. For example, a purling noise, or a lightning effect, or let's see what else, electric effect. And you can set it, for example, to be more toonish or tiling. So yeah, this is absolutely amazing. I think you even have like fire textures here. Let's see, I think it's fire. Oh yeah, and you can adjust the intensity, the strength, the power, and all these properties. So this is crazy, and you can just click here to save the texture, or if you want to, you can download this as an animated texture as well. I think this is my favorite generator ever. Let's see, we also have oh, this one. I really like this noise generator, and also this one as well. These two are amazing. Let me show you this. So here you can select which type of noise you want. For example, let's see, a marble noise. And here you can modify all these parameters, add some turbulence to it, and generate your own noise textures. All right, I will leave the links to this website in the description. Definitely recommend you to check it out. And a special thanks to Simon Crumpler for this amazing research and all these resources. I think I will also upload some free textures as well for you and for free, just to help you guys, and you don't even have to credit me or anything. So yeah, I will probably do that and leave the links in the description as well. Cool. Now let's create some textures using Krita. I am going to create a new project with a black background just to show you and to introduce you to all my brushes and all my techniques and shortcuts that I use in Krita. And as you can see, it's a very simple program. Here at the left, we have all the tools: the brush, eraser, selection tool, simple shapes, and we can also control the size of the brush and the flow, but I prefer to hold Shift and drag my mouse to control the size of the brush. Here we have the color selector, we have the layers, and you can create as much layers you need by pressing this plus button. And also we have all these brushes, but I only use like 4 or 5 brushes. I like to use this default brush just for making simple shapes. Also, there is this one, which is the same, but if you have a tablet, the more pressure you put in, you get a thicker line. And so, very useful if you are doing hand-painted textures. Also, there is an airbrush that I also use quite a lot for most textures. Let's see. Also, I use this blending brush a lot. With this, I can drag the texture, and if I press F5, I can access to the brush properties. So I can, for example, adjust the density of this brush. So it's much more intense, maybe too much. Let's reduce this to 60%. And yeah, it's very useful for waves, wind textures, motion textures. Also, I use a lot this one. This is the scatter brush. So with this brush, I can put many objects just by pressing one click, like this. Or by dragging, I can put many objects. If you press F5, here you can see we can add any texture. You can also create your own textures. So for example, let's pick this hard texture and let's reduce the spacing a lot. So now I can just add some hearts to my texture. Okay, now I will delete this and let's do some interesting stuff. Let's see. I will pick this curve tool and enable symmetry. And let me go ahead and drag this curve like so and press enter. And boom, we get a heart in just 3 clicks. Let's try something different this time. I will grab the line tool and I will also enable horizontal symmetry. And let's create some lines. And now let's pick the fill tool. And there you go. A star-like texture in just 4 clicks. Cool. Let me delete this. And there is one more option here, which is this one. And with this, we can make any kind of repetitive texture. This time, for example, I will grab the airbrush and do some crazy stuff. And also the blend tool. And let's say we have some waves texture like this. And we want this to be repetitive. So I can just use this option over here and now I can have a complete vision of the texture with repetition and manually fix all the issues. There you go, a repetitive texture. Okay, now I will hold the click here in my ruler and drag while holding the click until it snaps. It should snap here at the center of the image. And I will do the same from the top to the bottom. It snaps here. And this is the center of the image. Okay, now I will make sure that the size of my brush is small. Something like this, I guess. And now I will select the circle shape. I will drag and hold Shift and holding Control so I can move the circle around the center over here. And I will repeat this because I need another circle. Great. So now I will show you the coolest tool of Krita, which is this one, the multi-brush. Look at this. If I draw something, it gets projected in 3 axes symmetrically. And if you go here at the top right, you can control the tool options. You can set the type of the brushes and the amount. Let's set an amount of 8. So with this, you can do a lot of things. Also, let's try using this snowflakes mode and let's see what we can do with this. This is very funny. I am just freestyling, improvising here, and look all of these wild patterns. Okay, I have shown you my favorite brushes, my favorite tools. Now I want to show you my favorite filters. There are a lot of different filters, but probably the one I use the most is the blur filters. Especially the Gaussian blur filter is my favorite. One useful trick is to duplicate your texture layer, and in the duplicated layer, I will add a Gaussian blur filter so I can get this nice glowing texture effect. And the more you duplicate these layers, the more intense is this glowing effect. And there are some other very useful features. First, let me go ahead, select all the layers and press Ctrl E so I can merge the layers into one single layer. And now I will use the Start GMICQT option. And here we have a lot of filters. I use quite a lot the deformation filters. So for example, with this, we can like get this breaking effect. And also another filter that I quite use a lot. Let me delete this so you can see something. Is the continuous rust filter. So we get this nice spiral effect. And also I will hide this layer and create a new layer with a gradient. Now I will pick the blender brush and make sure it is repetitive vertically and horizontally. So now I can show you the sphere filter. And finally, another effect that I use quite a lot is the morphological filter. And we need to enable transparency, and with this we can like dissolve the texture. And maybe this is not the best example for the morphological filter, but I use this quite a lot for lava and fire effects, and you can really make a nice fire feeling with this morphological filter. Another program that I use a lot is Photoshop. And I will be honest, I am not the biggest fan of subscription-based software, but I have to admit it does come with some useful features, especially when it comes to texture creation. One of my favorites is the stroke option with gradient. I have actually used this technique in my lightning effect tutorial to create that cool vanishing bolt look. I also like its photo editing tools. Sometimes I just head out, snap a few pictures with my phone, and then bring them into Photoshop to tweak the levels and do some manual cleanup. Now, here is a neat trick. If you invert the texture, go to the channels panel and select the red channel while pressing this button, you will have a selection based on the texture contrast. So then you can jump to a new layer and press F5 to isolate just the part of the texture you need. I use this technique quite a lot for making decals, for making damage textures, bullet holes, blood textures, and so. And here I want to introduce another very useful tool. This one is completely free, Materialize. With this, I can just drop an image and generate height maps, normal maps, shadow maps, and all this by just moving some sliders. I will definitely recommend you this one, especially because it's completely free, so it's worth to give it a try. So this is Pixel Composer. And as soon as you open the program, you find this Getting Started menu with some tutorials, very easy to follow. So for example, if you click this Introduction, you can see it tells you like how to navigate using the mouse, and then how to create nodes. And it's very easy, very intuitive. You just need to follow this. And in one day, I think you can learn how to use most of the program at all. It also has these very nice examples. So for example, let's take a look at this shiny gem example. So let's say, for example, you want to change the color of this image that you created. So you can just drag this and look for a color adjust. And here you can change like the colors, the saturation, and everything. Let's see another example. I will close this project. I just need to right click and look for the node I need. For example, let's say I need a shape. And here I can select like any kind of shape. And of course, this is pixelated, but you can change the resolution here to a higher resolution. So it's not necessarily a program for pixel art. It works for everything. You can also, for example, you can look for draw, and I can, for example, draw something or pick a color and whatever. And then I can, for example, go ahead and blend this shape with this one to create this. And let's say, for example, you want this to be particles. So you can create a particle. Of course, I need to change the size because this is for pixel art. So I need to increase the size. And here now I am spawning a lot of particles using this. And I don't know, you can make everything. So for example, let's say we want to dissolve this. So I create a dissolve node. And I can change the parameters, for example, the scale of the dissolver. And yeah, you can do everything with this. It's a very complete program. You can also, for example, let's distort this, and let's use a noise, a purling noise, and I can also animate this texture. For example, if I hover on the property that I want to animate, for example, let's say I want to animate the position of this noise, I can click here to toggle this animation. So it saves this in the timeline here. And then I can go to another frame and change the position, this position. So now the noise is moving and this is distorting this new texture. Of course, this is just a quick basic example, but Pixel Composer has a ton of powerful tools under the hood. You can work with 3D objects, particle trails, tile maps, procedural generation, and even write custom logic directly inside this. Now, it is not free, but honestly, I think the price is very reasonable. It costs around $10, and for everything you get, I think it's totally worth it. Especially if you are working on a 2D game and you are more of a logic profile guy rather than an artist guy, this tool can save you a lot of time and level up your workflow. One thing to keep in mind is this is not a game engine. It's a node-based sprites art generator. So it is not built for heavy 3D scenes or complex camera setups. You might run into some lag if you push it too far in that direction. But for what it's designed to do, it's a solid tool. OpenToonz. It's a powerful open source animation production software that's actually been used by some AAA Japanese studios for high-end anime and feature films. Personally, I only use it for hand-painted animated effects and even for character animation. In fact, every character you have seen in my 2D tutorials was designed and animated using OpenToonz. Now, the workflow and layout are quite different from other animation programs. It's heavily inspired by Japanese keyframe animation style, so it might feel unfamiliar at first, but once you get used to it, it's honestly the best animation tool I have worked with. And the best part, it's completely free. I am not sure how many of you are interested in learning this program, but if you are, let me know in the comments. I would love to make a full tutorial on how to create hand-painted effects and export them to Godot for use in your games. Blender. Yeah, I don't think it even needs an introduction. I have used it in almost every video, mainly to create the 3D objects for my VFX work. And I use it almost every day for modeling, rendering. I even use it for editing my videos. Now, can you create textures in Blender? Technically, yes, but personally, I don't love using it for that. What most people do is they build an explosion or some wild effect and then export it as an animated sprite texture. The problem is rendering those simulations can take forever, especially if your computer isn't super powerful. I have had my computer crash multiple times in the past trying to bake heavy explosions or liquid simulations. I used to spend the entire day just to get one texture out of it. It's also frustrating that you can't preview the simulations in real time, though I have heard newer blended versions are improving that. Now, a lot of you ask me how to make these kind of textures, how to make animated textures in Blender. And if you want to, I can do a full tutorial about it. But if you're planning to bake realistic simulations, please reconsider twice. It's much better if you can find some textures out there or you can pay for them, because making this, it's a pretty painful process unless you know exactly what you are doing and you have a very powerful graphics card. And that brings me to one of my favorite tools for the real-time simulations, Embergen. This software is incredibly powerful. It comes packed with presets and templates, so you don't have to start from scratch every time. You can dive straight into creating explosions, smokes, or volumetric fire effects. Now, here's the thing. Embergen is not cheap, and you still need a powerful graphics card to run this program. It's also not something that you will master in a day or two. It has a learning curve. And that's the reason why I only recommend it if you are a professional VFX artist or working in a film or developing a highly specialized game that relies heavily on volumetric effects. Otherwise, it might be an overkill for your needs, especially if you are a solo dev or an indie dev, because it is not cheap and you won't probably use it that much. Anyways, I still wanted to mention it because it's a fantastic piece of software. And if you are in the VFX or in the films industry, it could be a game changer. A lot of people don't know about this, but some game engines like Godot and Unreal Engine have already built-in noise generators. In Unreal, you will find various noise and shape nodes inside the material graph. You can combine and manipulate them in different ways to generate all kinds of noise patterns. Then, by using a render target, you can bake that material into a texture and export it. Honestly, most of my noise textures were created this way in Unreal. Godot also has a pretty good texture generator. In this case, it's a node. It's a special noise texture node that you can create directly in a texture slot. I even wrote a small script just to bake this noise file into a exportable PNG texture. If you want to know how to do this step by step, just let me know in the comments and I might do a part 2 of this video with a full breakdown of this. And with that, I think it's a good place to end this video. Thanks for sticking around. This was my first time trying out this kind of format, so I know I didn't dive super deep into every detail. There are just so many tools I use regularly, and it's so difficult to fit everything into a single video. If you would like a more focused tutorial on any of these tools I mentioned, or if you know of a cool texture tool I should check out, just let me know in the comments. Once again, thanks for watching, and see you in the next one.